The moment I stepped onto the sandy beach, an unexpected wave of excitement washed over me. The rhythmic thump of the bass from the speakers reverberated through the air, mixing with the joyous shouts of partygoers. Strings of colorful lights stretched above, casting a magical glow over the scene, making the night feel alive and electric. I could hardly believe I was here, at this incredible beach party that seemed to pulse with energy and promise. Everywhere I looked, people were dancing, laughing, and enjoying the warm summer night. It was a scene straight out of a movie, and I was thrilled to be a part of it. Amid the whirlwind of laughter, music, and flashing lights, I found myself completely immersed in the beach party's vibrant energy. The night was in full swing, with people dancing and enjoying the festivities all around me. It was as if the entire beach had come alive, and I was more than happy to lose myself in the moment. As I made my way through the throng of partygoers, I suddenly collided with someone. I looked up, slightly flustered, to see a tall, handsome man with an easy, charismatic smile. He had a confident air about him that was immediately captivating. "Hey there," he said, steadying me with a gentle touch on my arm. "You okay?" "Yeah, I'm fine. Sorry about that," I replied, feeling a little embarrassed by my clumsiness. "No need to apologize. These things happen," he said, his smile widening. "I'm Jake, by the way." "Nice to meet you, Jake. I'm Olivia," I responded, feeling an instant connection. Jake's smile turned into a grin as he reached over to the bar and picked up a brightly colored cocktail. "How about a drink to celebrate our little run-in?" he offered, handing me the glass. I accepted the drink, our fingers brushing lightly as I took it from him. "Thank you. This party is incredible, isn't it?" "It is," he agreed, his eyes sparkling with the same excitement I felt. "So, Olivia, what brings you to this amazing beach bash?" "Just looking to have some fun and make some memories," I said, taking a sip of the cocktail. It was sweet and refreshing, a perfect match for the lively atmosphere around us. "Sounds like a great plan," Jake said, raising his glass in a toast. "To new friends and unforgettable nights." "Cheers to that," I echoed, clinking my glass against his. We stood there for a moment, taking in the scene together. The music, the lights, the laughter, it all seemed to blend into a perfect symphony of joy and celebration. Jake's presence made everything even more vibrant, and I found myself genuinely enjoying his company. The night sky above the beach was clear, and the stars twinkled brightly, creating a picturesque backdrop for the party. The sound of laughter and music filled the air as I stood next to Jake, feeling a sense of contentment wash over me. The evening had been perfect so far, and it was about to get even better. "Hey, Olivia," Jake said, gently touching my arm to get my attention. "The fireworks are about to start. Want to find a good spot to watch them?" "Absolutely," I replied, smiling up at him. "Let's go." We made our way to a quieter part of the beach, away from the throngs of people dancing and mingling. Finding a comfortable spot in the sand, we sat down side by side, the anticipation building as we waited for the show to begin. Within moments, the first fireworks shot into the sky, exploding in a dazzling display of colors. The bursts of red, blue, and gold lit up the night, their reflections shimmering on the water's surface. I felt a rush of awe and excitement, completely captivated by the spectacle. "Wow," I whispered, unable to tear my eyes away from the vibrant display. "This is amazing." "Yeah," Jake agreed, his voice soft and filled with wonder. "There's something magical about fireworks, isn't there?" I nodded, feeling a sense of connection with him at that moment. As we continued to watch the fireworks, our conversation naturally began to flow, becoming more relaxed and intimate. "So, Olivia," Jake said, turning to look at me, "tell me something about yourself. What's your passion?" I thought for a moment, feeling comfortable enough to open up. "Well, I love photography. Capturing moments, emotions, and beauty through a lens has always been my passion. It's like freezing a piece of time forever." "That's incredible," Jake said, his eyes lighting up with genuine interest. "Do you have a favorite subject or theme you like to photograph?" "Nature, mostly," I replied, smiling. "There's something so serene and timeless about it, but I also enjoy taking candid shots of people, capturing those unguarded, real moments." Jake nodded thoughtfully. "I can see that. You have an eye for the beautiful and authentic. It's a rare gift." "What about you, Jake?" I asked, curious to learn more about him. "What's your passion?" I guess you could say I'm passionate about adventure, he said, a mischievous grin spreading across his face. I love trying new things, exploring new places, and just living life to the fullest. That sounds exhilarating, I said, genuinely intrigued. Any recent adventures worth sharing? Well, I recently went skydiving for the first time, Jake said, his eyes gleaming with excitement. It was the most incredible rush I've ever experienced. There's nothing quite like the feeling of free falling through the sky. Wow, that sounds both terrifying and thrilling, I admitted, laughing. I don't know if I could ever do that, but it sounds amazing. Jake chuckled. It's not for everyone, but I'm glad I did it. Life's too short to not take risks and make unforgettable memories. As the fireworks continued to light up the sky, our conversation flowed effortlessly. We shared stories, dreams, and secrets, finding common ground and appreciating each other's perspectives. The initial spark of attraction between us had deepened into something more substantial, a genuine connection that felt both exciting and comforting. The grand finale of the fireworks show began, with a rapid succession of explosions that painted the sky in a kaleidoscope of colors. We watched in awe, the intensity of the display mirroring the growing intensity of our bond. When the last firework faded, leaving behind a trail of smoke and a sky full of stars, Jake turned to me with a warm smile. This has been one of the best nights I've had in a long time, Olivia. Me too, Jake, I replied, feeling a sense of warmth and happiness. Thank you for sharing it with me. As we sat there in the sand, the remnants of the fireworks still lingering in the air, I knew that this night had been a turning point. What had started as a chance encounter at a beach party had blossomed into something truly special, and I couldn't wait to see where this new connection with Jake would lead. The beach party continued to buzz with energy, the air filled with laughter and music. Jake and I had enjoyed the fireworks together, but the night was far from over. As we stood up from the sandy spot where we'd been sitting, he turned to me with a mischievous glint in his eye. How about we check out the water attractions? Jake suggested, a playful smile spreading across his face. I heard they have some amazing water slides and rides. I felt a rush of excitement at the thought. That sounds like so much fun. Let's do it, I replied eagerly. We made our way towards the water attractions area, the glow from the party lights reflecting off the ocean waves. The sound of people splashing and cheering filled the air, and I could feel the adrenaline building inside me. The first attraction we approached was a giant inflatable water slide that ended in a splash pool. Jake grabbed my hand, and we climbed up the ladder together, our laughter mingling with the sounds of the party. At the top, we paused for a moment, taking in the view of the beach illuminated by the vibrant lights. Ready? Jake asked, his eyes sparkling with excitement. Absolutely, I said, my heart racing with anticipation. We slid down together, the rush of the wind and water exhilarating. I screamed with delight as we hit the water, emerging with a big splash. We both laughed, the thrill of the ride breaking down any remaining barriers between us. Next, we tried the jet skis. As I gripped the handlebars and felt the powerful engine roar to life beneath me, I couldn't help but grin. Jake took the lead, expertly maneuvering his jet ski across the waves, and I followed close behind. The sensation of speeding across the water, the spray hitting my face, filled me with a sense of freedom I hadn't felt in a long time. After a few laps, Jake signaled for us to stop by a floating platform. We pulled up and sat down, catching our breath and taking in the view of the lively party from the water. This is incredible, I said, my heart still pounding with excitement. I can't remember the last time I had this much fun. Jake smiled, his gaze warm and appreciative. I'm glad you're enjoying yourself. It's even better sharing it with you. We exchanged a look that spoke volumes, the connection between us growing stronger with each shared adventure. Our next stop was a series of interconnected water slides that twisted and turned before dumping us back into the ocean. We climbed to the top, and Jake challenged me to a race. The first one down buys the next round of drinks, he said with a wink. You're on, I replied, laughing. We launched ourselves down the slides, the twists and turns making it impossible to predict who would win. The thrill of the ride, combined with the competitive spirit, made it an unforgettable experience. We emerged at the bottom almost simultaneously, both laughing and out of breath. I think it's a tie, Jake said, still chuckling. Looks like we'll both be buying drinks. I can live with that, I said, smiling up at him. We spent the next hour exploring the various water attractions, each new ride adding to the sense of adventure and camaraderie. The excitement and adrenaline created a bond between us that felt natural and effortless. As we finally made our way back to the main party area, I couldn't help but reflect on how much the night had changed. What had started as a simple beach party had transformed into an evening of unexpected connections and thrilling experiences. And through it all, Jake had been there, sharing every moment and making it all the more special. The night sky sparkled above us, the stars twinkling like tiny diamonds scattered across a velvet canvas. The beach party was in full swing, and the energy was palpable. Jake and I had spent the evening exploring water attractions and sharing thrilling moments, but now, as the music's beat pulsed through the air, it was time for something different. "Care to dance?" Jake asked, extending his hand with a charming smile. "Absolutely," I replied, my heart skipping a beat. We made our way to the makeshift dance floor on the sand, the DJ spinning a mix of vibrant tracks that made it impossible to resist the urge to move. The crowd around us swayed and bounced in time with the music, their joy and excitement contagious. As soon as we stepped onto the dance floor, Jake took my hand and pulled me close. The rhythm of the music seemed to take over, guiding our movements and erasing any awkwardness. I felt an exhilarating rush as we began to dance, our bodies syncing perfectly with the beat. The sand beneath our feet was cool and soft, a stark contrast to the warm night air and the heat generated by our dancing. The ocean breeze whispered through my hair, adding to the enchanting atmosphere. We danced with abandon, completely absorbed in the moment. The world around us faded away as the music intensified. The sounds of laughter and chatter from other partygoers became a distant hum, and it felt like it was just Jake and me, moving together under the vast, starry sky. His hands were strong and sure, guiding me effortlessly as we twirled and spun, our movements fluid and natural. I looked up at Jake, catching his eye, and we shared a smile that spoke volumes. There was a connection between us, something deep and unspoken, that made this moment even more magical. His gaze was intense, filled with warmth and a hint of something more. It sent a shiver down my spine and I felt my cheeks flush. As the music transitioned to a slower, more intimate song, Jake pulled me closer. We swayed gently to the rhythm, our bodies pressed together. I rested my head on his shoulder, feeling his heartbeat against mine. The night seemed to hold its breath, and everything felt perfect. "This has been an incredible night," Jake whispered in my ear, his breath warm against my skin. "It has," I replied softly, my eyes closed as I savored the moment. We continued to dance under the stars, each song blending seamlessly into the next. Time lost all meaning, and it felt like we were in our little world. The connection between us grew stronger with every step, every shared smile, and every whispered word. Jake and I decided to take a break from dancing and headed to the beach bar for some cocktails. The bar was a cozy spot, decorated with strings of fairy lights that twinkled like stars. We found 2 seats at the bar, and Jake ordered us a couple of tropical cocktails. The bartender skillfully mixed the drinks, adding slices of fresh fruit and tiny umbrellas as a finishing touch. "To an amazing night," Jake said, raising his glass to mine. "To an amazing night," I echoed, clinking my glass against his. We took a sip of our cocktails, the sweet and tangy flavors blending perfectly. The atmosphere around us was relaxed, and the soft hum of conversations and laughter created a comfortable backdrop for our exchange. "So, Olivia, what are your dreams?" Jake asked, his eyes curious and genuinely interested. I took a moment to think, gazing out at the now darkening sky. "I've always wanted to travel the world," I began. "See new places, experience different cultures. I guess you could say I have a bit of wanderlust." Jake nodded, smiling. "That sounds incredible. Any specific places on your list?" "A lot, actually," I said, laughing softly. "But if I had to choose, I'd start with Italy. The art, the history, the food. It all fascinates me." "Italy is amazing," Jake agreed. "I went there a few years ago, and it was an unforgettable experience. You'd love it." We continued to talk, sharing our dreams and plans for the future. Jake told me about his desire to start his own business someday, something related to adventure tourism. His eyes lit up as he spoke about his ideas, and I could see how passionate he was about making it happen. As the conversation flowed, Jake's demeanor shifted slightly, becoming more contemplative. He took another sip of his drink and looked at me thoughtfully. "Can I tell you something personal?" he asked, his voice quieter now. "Of course," I replied, intrigued. Jake took a deep breath, then began. "A few years ago, I went through a really tough time. I lost someone very close to me, and it changed my perspective on life. It made me realize how important it is to live fully and appreciate every moment." His words resonated deeply with me, and I felt a surge of empathy. "I'm so sorry, Jake," I said softly. "Thank you for sharing that with me." He nodded, his eyes meeting mine. "It's something I've learned to live with, but it also pushed me to follow my dreams and make the most of every opportunity. That's why nights like this mean so much to me." I felt a strong urge to open up as well. "I understand," I said, my voice trembling slightly. "I've had my struggles too. Sometimes it feels like I'm constantly searching for something, trying to find my place in the world." Jake reached out and gently took my hand. "You're not alone, Olivia. We all have our battles, but sharing them makes us stronger." His touch was comforting, and I felt a sense of connection that went beyond the surface. "Thank you, Jake. It means a lot to hear that." We sat in silence for a moment, the sounds of the beach party fading into the background. It was a peaceful silence, filled with understanding and a newfound bond. As the night grew darker, the bartender brought us another round of cocktails. We continued to talk, delving into our past experiences, hopes, and fears. With each revelation, the connection between us deepened, and I realized that this night was more than just fun and excitement. It was a chance to truly connect with someone who understood and appreciated me. "To new beginnings," Jake said, raising his glass once more. "To new beginnings," I replied, smiling. As we finished our drinks and watched the last light of the sunset disappear, I felt a sense of contentment and anticipation for what lay ahead. This night had brought us closer together, and I couldn't wait to see where our journey would take us next. The night deepened, and the beach party's energy took on a softer, more intimate vibe. The fairy lights strung around the bar and trees cast a warm, golden glow, creating a magical atmosphere. Jake and I lingered at the bar. Our conversation had shifted from dreams and plans to more personal reflections. As we spoke, I couldn't help but notice how the light played on Jake's features, highlighting his kind eyes and the lines of his smile. There was a quiet intensity in the way he looked at me, and I felt drawn to him in a way I couldn't quite explain. Our hands rested close together on the bar, and as we laughed at a shared joke, our fingers brushed against each other. The touch was accidental, but it sent a shiver down my spine. I glanced up at Jake, and our eyes met. At that moment, words became unnecessary. The look we exchanged spoke volumes, conveying a connection that was deep and unspoken. "Do you want to go somewhere quieter?" Jake asked softly, his voice filled with a mix of anticipation and gentleness. I nodded, feeling a flutter of excitement. "Yes, let's." We left the bustling bar area and made our way down the beach, away from the music and the crowd. The sand was cool beneath our feet, and the sound of the waves gently lapping against the shore provided a soothing backdrop. The further we walked, the quieter it became, until we found ourselves on a secluded stretch of beach, illuminated only by the moon and the distant lights of the party. Jake spread out a blanket he had grabbed from the bar, and we sat down side by side facing the ocean. The night air was warm and comforting, and the stars above us twinkled brightly in the clear sky. "This is perfect," I said, taking a deep breath of the salty air. "It is," Jake agreed, his voice soft and thoughtful. We sat in comfortable silence for a while, simply enjoying each other's presence and the peaceful surroundings. The sounds of the party were a distant murmur, allowing us to fully immerse ourselves in the moment. Jake turned to me, his eyes reflecting the moonlight. "I'm really glad we met tonight, Olivia." "Me too, Jake," I replied, feeling a warmth spread through me. "It's been an unforgettable night." He reached out and took my hand, his touch gentle but firm. "I've never felt this kind of connection with someone so quickly," he admitted, his gaze never leaving mine. I squeezed his hand, feeling the same way. "Neither have I. It's like we've known each other for much longer." The air between us was charged with unspoken emotions, and I felt a pull towards Jake that I couldn't resist. Leaning in, I rested my head on his shoulder, feeling his warmth and the steady rhythm of his breath. We sat like that for a while, wrapped in a comfortable silence, our hands entwined. It was a simple yet profoundly romantic moment, made all the more special by the genuine connection we shared. As the night wore on, we talked about everything and nothing, our conversation flowing effortlessly. Jake shared more about his dreams, his past, and the things that mattered most to him. In turn, I opened up about my own life, my hopes, and my fears. There was something incredibly freeing about being so honest and vulnerable with him. Eventually, we lay back on the blanket, staring up at the stars. The night was perfectly still. The only sounds were the gentle rustling of the leaves and the distant crash of the waves. I felt a deep sense of peace and contentment, knowing that this was a night I would always remember. Under the glow of the lights, both from the stars and the distant party, Jake and I shared a moment that was pure and beautiful. It was the beginning of something new and exciting, and I couldn't wait to see where this journey would take us. The night was still and serene, the sounds of the party far behind us, leaving only the rhythmic whisper of the waves. Jake and I lay on the blanket, gazing up at the stars. The sky seemed infinite, each twinkling light a distant world, making our secluded corner of the beach feel even more special. Jake turned to me, a playful glint in his eye. "How about we take a swim?" he suggested, his voice filled with excitement. I glanced at the dark, inviting ocean. The idea of a night swim was exhilarating. "That sounds amazing," I replied, a smile spreading across my face. We stood up, brushing the sand from our clothes. Jake was already pulling off his shirt, and I followed suit, slipping out of my dress and into the warm embrace of the night air. The ocean beckoned, its waves softly lapping at the shore, reflecting the starlight. Hand in hand, we ran toward the water, laughing like kids. The moment our feet touched the surf, a rush of coolness sent shivers up my spine. We waded in deeper, the water enveloping us in its soothing warmth. "Ready?" Jake asked, his grin wide. "Ready," I shouted back, and together we dove into the waves. The water was perfect, not too cold, and as we surfaced, the sky stretched endlessly above us. We floated on our backs, the gentle motion of the sea rocking us like a cradle. The stars seemed closer and more vivid, and I felt a profound sense of connection to everything around me. "This is incredible," I murmured, turning my head to look at Jake. He nodded, his eyes reflecting the starlight. "I've never done anything like this before. It's like we're the only two people in the world." We swam closer, the water rippling around us. I felt an electric thrill, a sense of magic in the air. Every moment with Jake felt more intense, more significant. The world faded away, leaving just the two of us in this starlit embrace. We floated side by side, our fingers occasionally brushing against each other in the water. Each touch sent a spark through me, making my heart race. The silence between us was filled with unspoken words, and I knew he felt it too, the undeniable chemistry, the deepening connection. "Look," Jake whispered, pointing to the sky. A shooting star streaked across the heavens, leaving a trail of light in its wake. I made a silent wish, hoping this night would never end. Jake moved closer, his arm brushing against mine, sending a wave of warmth through my body. "What did you wish for?" he asked softly. I smiled, not wanting to break the spell by speaking my wish out loud. "If I tell you, it won't come true." He laughed, a sound that blended perfectly with the gentle hum of the ocean. "Fair enough, but I hope it was a good one." "It was," I replied, my voice barely a whisper. We stayed in the water for what felt like hours, talking about everything and nothing. Jake shared stories of his childhood, his adventures, and his dreams. I found myself opening up to him in ways I hadn't with anyone else, sharing my fears and hopes. As we swam, the water around us seemed to glow with a phosphorescent light, adding to the magic of the night. It felt like we were floating in a sea of stars, each movement creating a trail of shimmering light. Eventually, we made our way back to the shore, reluctant to leave the embrace of the ocean. We sat on the sand, letting the water lap at our feet, and stared out at the horizon, where the sky met the sea. "Tonight has been perfect," I said, leaning my head on Jake's shoulder. "It has," he agreed, wrapping his arm around me, "and it's not over yet." At that moment, I felt a deep sense of contentment. The night swim had been more than just a dip in the ocean. It had been a transformative experience, a moment of pure magic that brought Jake and me closer together. As we sat there watching the waves, I knew that this was just the beginning of something truly special. Reluctantly, we left our secluded spot by the ocean and made our way back to the party. The sounds of laughter and music grew louder with each step, bringing us back to the vibrant energy of the celebration. As we walked hand in hand, the warmth of the night's adventures still lingered between us. When we reached the edge of the party, Jake turned to me with a mischievous smile. "How about we find a cozy spot to continue our evening?" I nodded eagerly, curious to see what he had in mind. "Lead the way." We weaved through the crowd, passing groups of people dancing, chatting, and enjoying the night. The beach was alive with activity, but Jake seemed to know exactly where to go. He guided me toward a quieter area where large, colorful pillows and low tables were arranged in a circle around a fire pit. "This looks perfect," he said, gesturing to an empty spot. We settled onto the pillows, the fire casting a warm, flickering glow over us. The air was filled with the scent of salt and the faint hint of roasted marshmallows. It felt intimate, a little haven amidst the lively chaos of the party. A server came by, and Jake ordered us a couple of cocktails. As we waited, we talked about our favorite parts of the night so far, reminiscing about the fireworks, the swim, and the countless moments that had made the evening unforgettable. When the drinks arrived, Jake raised his glass. "To an incredible night and many more to come." "Cheers," I said, clinking my glass against his. The drink was refreshing, a perfect blend of tropical flavors that danced on my tongue. As we sipped our cocktails, the conversation flowed effortlessly. Jake had a way of making me feel at ease, and I found myself laughing and sharing stories without a second thought. It was as if we'd known each other for much longer than just one night. "Do you come to these parties often?" I asked, curious about his connection to the event. "Not really," he admitted. "I usually prefer quieter nights, but something told me tonight would be different." I smiled, feeling a rush of gratitude for whatever had brought us both here. "I'm glad you listened to that something." "Me too," he said, his eyes locking onto mine with an intensity that made my heart skip a beat. The fire crackled softly, adding to the cozy atmosphere. Around us, the party continued, but in our little corner of the beach, it felt like we were in our world. The warmth of the fire and the comfort of the pillows made it easy to relax, and I found myself leaning closer to Jake, drawn by the connection that had been growing between us all night. "What's next on the agenda?" I asked playfully, wondering what other surprises he might have in store. "How about a walk along the shore?" he suggested. "The moonlight is too beautiful to miss." "That sounds perfect," I agreed, feeling a flutter of excitement. We finished our drinks and stood up, Jake taking my hand once more. As we walked away from the cozy circle of pillows, I glanced back at the fire pit, grateful for the moments we had shared there. The night was far from over, and I couldn't wait to see what else was in store. The beach stretched out before us, a canvas of soft sand and shimmering water. The moon hung high in the sky, casting a silvery glow over everything. It was a scene straight out of a dream, and I felt incredibly lucky to be experiencing it with Jake. As we strolled along the shore, the waves gently lapping at our feet, I realized that tonight had been more than just a series of events. It had been a journey of connection, adventure, and magic. And with Jake by my side, I knew it was only the beginning. The night seemed to stretch on forever, with every moment blending seamlessly into the next. Jake and I walked along the shore, the soft sand beneath our feet, and the rhythmic crash of the waves creating a soundtrack for our evening. The moonlight painted the ocean with a silvery sheen, adding to the magic of the night. After our walk, we returned to the party, and Jake led me back to our cozy spot by the fire pit. The flames were now a gentle glow, and the air was filled with a sense of anticipation. Jake had been unusually quiet, a thoughtful expression on his face. I could sense that he was planning something special. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small, elegantly wrapped box. My heart skipped a beat as I looked at it, curiosity and excitement mingling in my chest. Jake handed it to me with a smile, his eyes twinkling with affection. "I wanted to give you something," he said softly, "something to remember tonight by." I took the box from him, my fingers brushing against his as I did. The touch was brief but electrifying, and I looked up at him, feeling a flutter of anticipation. Carefully, I unwrapped the box, revealing a delicate silver bracelet inside. It was adorned with tiny charms that sparkled in the firelight. "It's beautiful," I whispered, touched by the thoughtful gesture. "I'm glad you like it," Jake said, his voice filled with warmth. I saw it and thought it would be perfect for you. I held the bracelet up, admiring its intricate design. Thank you, Jake. This means so much to me. He took the bracelet from my hands and gently clasped it around my wrist. His touch was tender and deliberate, and I felt a rush of emotion as he secured the clasp. I looked at the bracelet, now resting comfortably on my wrist, and then back at him. This is such a sweet gesture, I said, my voice trembling slightly. It's more than I could have hoped for. Jake smiled, his eyes meeting mine with a look of genuine affection. I wanted to do something special because you mean a lot to me. Tonight has been incredible, and I wanted to make sure you knew how much I care. I was overwhelmed by the depth of his feelings, and a surge of emotion made it hard to find the right words. Instead, I leaned in and kissed him softly, the kiss conveying everything I couldn't put into words. The moment lingered, and as we pulled away, Jake took my hand and guided me back to the open area where the music was still playing. The band had switched to a slower, more romantic tune, and Jake drew me close, wrapping his arms around me. We danced together, our movements perfectly in sync with the rhythm of the music. The night air was warm, and the stars above seemed to shine even brighter as we moved in each other's embrace. The world around us seemed to fall away, leaving just the two of us in a bubble of pure, unfiltered connection. As we swayed to the music, the cocktail in my hand seemed to lose its significance. Time felt like it had stopped, leaving only the present moment to cherish. The firelight flickered around us, casting a warm glow over our faces and highlighting the joy in our expressions. Jake looked down at me, his eyes full of love and contentment. I never want this night to end, he murmured. Me neither, I agreed, resting my head on his shoulder. It feels like a dream. We continued to dance under the open sky, savoring the warmth of the night and the closeness of our bodies. Every twirl and step brought us closer, and I could feel the magic of the evening deepening our bond. As the song came to an end, we stayed in each other's arms, reluctant to break the spell. The night had been filled with so many beautiful moments, and Jake's romantic gesture had made it even more unforgettable. In that perfect starlit night, I knew that what we had was something truly special. And as we danced and drank our cocktails, I felt a profound sense of happiness, knowing that this was just the beginning of our journey together. The party was winding down, and the once lively beach had begun to empty, leaving behind only the echoes of laughter and the soft murmur of the waves. The fire pit's glow was fading, and the last of the music was drifting off into the night. Jake and I stood together, our hands intertwined, savoring the final moments of a night that had been nothing short of magical. I glanced around at the scattered remnants of the party, the abandoned glasses, the smoldering embers of the fire, and felt a pang of reluctance. I didn't want this night to end. The connection we had built felt so strong, so real, and it was hard to imagine saying goodbye. Jake seemed to sense my hesitation. I guess it's time to head out, he said softly, his voice carrying a hint of sadness. Yeah, I replied, my heart heavy. I can't believe the night is already over. We walked back toward the main area, where a few stragglers were still lingering, but the energy had shifted. The stars above seemed to dim slightly, as if they were reluctant to see us part ways. When we reached the spot where we had first met, Jake turned to face me, his eyes searching mine. I wish we didn't have to say goodbye. I nodded, feeling the same sense of regret. Me too. This has been the best night I've had in a long time. He smiled, his eyes filled with warmth and hope. I don't want this to be the end. Can we make plans to see each other again? A surge of happiness washed over me at his words. I'd love that. Let's make it happen. We stood there for a moment, the soft breeze ruffling our hair, and I realized how much I had come to care for him in such a short time. It was a testament to the incredible connection we had forged, and I knew that saying goodbye was only a temporary measure. Jake pulled me into a gentle hug, his embrace comforting and reassuring. I had an amazing time tonight. Thank you for making it so special. I hugged him back, my heart full of emotion. Thank you for everything, Jake. I'll never forget this night. We finally pulled away, and Jake took my hand, giving it a tender squeeze. I'll text you soon, okay? We'll figure out our next adventure. Sounds perfect, I said, my smile reflecting the hope I felt inside. As Jake walked away, I stayed behind, my feet sinking into the warm sand as I took one last look at the now quiet beach. The party had ended, and the once lively atmosphere had given way to a peaceful stillness. The distant murmur of the waves and the faint glow of the moon were my only companions. I sat down on a soft patch of sand, my thoughts swirling as I replayed the night in my mind. Every detail, the laughter, the dancing, the quiet moments we shared, felt vivid and alive. It was hard to believe how quickly the evening had passed, and how deeply it had touched me. The sky above was a canvas of stars, and the gentle breeze carried the faint scent of the ocean. I leaned back on my elbows, gazing up at the constellations, feeling a mixture of contentment and anticipation. The night had been everything I could have hoped for and more. Jake had been charming, thoughtful, and incredibly genuine, and I couldn't help but smile as I thought about him. As I stared out at the darkened sea, my mind wandered to what the future might hold. The connection we had made was undeniable, and the thought of seeing him again filled me with excitement. The possibility of more nights like this, of continuing the adventure we had started, was both thrilling and comforting. I closed my eyes for a moment, letting the tranquility of the beach wash over me. The gentle crash of the waves and the soft hum of the wind created a soothing melody, and I felt a sense of peace. Even though Jake and I had parted ways for now, the promise of what might come next kept my heart buoyant. In my mind, I imagined our next meeting, perhaps another adventure, another chance to explore the connection we had discovered. I pictured us laughing, talking, and enjoying each other's company, just as we had tonight. The thought of our future together was like a warm glow, lighting up the horizon of my dreams. As the hours passed, the beach grew quieter, and the cool night air began to settle in. I reluctantly stood up, brushed the sand from my clothes, and took one last look around. The beach was now a serene, almost magical place, and I felt a deep sense of gratitude for the night we had shared. With a hopeful heart and a smile on my face, I made my way to the parking lot, eager for the next chapter in this unfolding story. The anticipation of what lay ahead with Jake was like a beacon, guiding me toward a future filled with possibilities. As I drove away from the beach, the stars above seemed to twinkle with a promise, and I knew that this was just the beginning. The night had been a beautiful prelude to what was to come, and I couldn't wait to see where this journey would lead us.